All right, welcome to Unit 7. This is our polynomials unit. It's one of our longer units, but it's quite an important building block for the things that we're going to be doing from here on out. So we're going to start this unit off with another review of factoring. Now, before when we've factored polynomials, we've usually stuck with a certain type of polynomial. They're called a quadratic polynomial with the highest power was 2. Now, we're going to factor some polynomials here that are going to have powers that are higher than 2, but we're going to show you it's going to be the exact same type of thing that we did when we are solving what we call quadratic equations or quadratic expressions. So to start off with, it's just a review, but please, I know I say this every time we teach this. If you do not know how to factor, please pay attention this time, because factoring is going to help you not only this unit, but throughout the rest of what we're doing all year. So we're going to start off with what we call the greatest common factor, the GCF. That's what it stands for, greatest common factor. This is going to be our most common type of question. In fact, we're going to have to check for a greatest common factor before you do any other type of factoring. So learn this one well. Okay, all we're going to do is look at our two terms here. Notice how the add or subtract is going to separate our terms. So we've got two terms here. What you're going to do is look for the greatest common factor right there. So I just take a look at the numbers first. Okay, so ignore the A's. Just look at 12 and 10. We're trying to find the biggest number that divides into both of them. I usually start with the smallest number. Okay, because the biggest number is not going to divide into the smaller number. So I start with 10 and I say, well, 10 will divide by itself, but will 12 divide by 10? No, so that's too big. So then I go for the next biggest factor. I just divide this one by 2, and I say, well, what about 5? Will 5 divide by 12? Will 12 divide by 5? No. So we go clear down to 2. 2 will go into both of those. So 2 is what we call part of our greatest common factor. Now, if both of your terms have the same variable right here, you're going to have more of a common greatest common factor. You're always going to just take out the smallest number of A's or X's or H's, whatever letter you have. So notice here that we've got at least 2. This is just A times A right here. This is 3 of them, A times A times A. So we're going to take out 2 of them. Now, we're still not done. This is our greatest common factor, but what we're doing is we're undistributing it. We're trying to, when we say factor it, we're going to try and make it so that if you were to distribute this 2A squared into a binomial here, we end up with the binomial that we factored. So what do I multiply this 2 with to get 12? Well, 6 goes right there. And then A squared, I need to multiply it with another A to make that A to the third. So 6A goes right there. The plus sign will go right in the middle again. 2 times 5 will give me the 10. And I don't need any more A's. I've got the A squared already. So this is factored. This is my polynomial right there, factored. Okay, let's try the same thing right here. Again, I just look at my numbers, 14 and 7. I take the smallest one and I say 7 divides into itself. Will 7 divide into 14? Yes. Okay, so 7 is going to be part of my greatest common factor. Now I just take my letters one at a time. Don't let it overwhelm you. I've got m to the 5th. Sorry, that's an 8. M to the 8th. I should maybe make this a little bit bigger so we can all see this here. Okay, so m to the 8th and m to the 2nd. So I take out the smallest numbers. I can only take out 2 because I can't take any more than 2 out of this one right there. And then we can look at our letters n right here. There's 5 and 2. So again, you take out the smallest one. You can take out an n squared. All right, then we just go ahead and write our brackets here, and I'm just going to undistribute. That's really how I think of it, as I'm just trying to say, what would I multiply this 7 with? What goes right here? If I multiply it by 7, I get 14. Well, there's a 2. What do I multiply m squared with to get m to the 8th? Remember, it's your exponent rules here. You don't have to multiply them. You have to add them. So you need 6 more m's right there. So you've got m times 6 of them. That'll give you your 8. Same thing here. They've got to add to this 5. So I need an n to the 3rd. So then 2 plus 3 gives me that 5 right there. Okay, do the same thing with the second term. I've got to subtract. What do I multiply 7 with to get 7? Well, just 1. You can write it there. You don't have to write it there if you don't want to. And then you've got an m squared, so I don't need any more m's. I've also got my n squared, so I don't need any more n's. So in this case, you do actually have to write the 1 right there. Okay, if you would have had some m's or m's, you could have just dropped it, but you do want that now to hold the place. Guys, these are easy to check. Just distribute. Just make sure that when you distribute, you get back to where you started from. Okay, so that's your greatest common factor. We will go on to the difference of squares in our next video.